Hey, you guys, look this way real quick. Sarah, get it together, Sarah. Thank you. Live it. Are you gonna live stream on Twitter?
I'm trying to do it right now. Hopefully it works. It's live now. Hi. Hi. Hey, there's no PA system. You guys just have to be really loud. All right. Hey, everybody, if you could get your attention in this direction, please.
Listen up, everyone.
If anybody back there wants to participate and listen in on this, please come closer. There's a lot of sound coming from the other event or the venue. And if you're not, please, if you would consider kind of being quiet in the background, it's going to be difficult to be loud enough for you to hear us. Having said that, I'm here to facilitate this conference, and I'd like to call it the J6 Political Prisoner Update Conference. So with that, Dr. Simone Gold, and if you could please record this, live stream it, do what you will, and then push it out, because we will be putting out information that hasn't really been disclosed yet that needs to get out.
Thank you. Are you okay with the? Okay. Thank you so much. I think many people here today know me because I participate in most of the Clay Clark events. So thank you for taking the time to come and listen and hear more about the J6 situation. Most of you know that I'm an emergency physician. Many of you know that I'm also an attorney, Stanford University Law School graduate. So I looked at the situation of J6, and I think it's a civil liberties issue of our time. There is no greater issue. The fact that everyone is not up in arms, up in the street over this issue is very shameful, and it's very worrisome for our free rights going forward as sovereign citizens. We have people in prison unjustly. We have people in pre-trial. Most importantly, we have people who have been charged with crimes for which there's no evidence they committed such crimes. I myself am a J6, I guess, political prisoner. I took a misdemeanor plea for entering and remaining. This is a misdemeanor. For this misdemeanor plea, I was put in a maximum security federal penitentiary for 60 days. I challenge anyone listening to my voice to tell me if they know anybody who's been put in a maximum security federal penitentiary for a misdemeanor plea. Because I've never heard of such a thing. That was my story. But my story is very small compared to many other stories you'll hear today. The point is that we have a federal Department of Justice and a federal judiciary that is out of control. There are specific things that can be done differently. One, we know that the jury pool is poisoned in D.C. These defendants should not be charged, should not be tried in the D.C. system. It's certain they cannot get a fair trial. Two, we should not, it is against the law to indict crimes that you don't have all the elements met. That's happening all over the place. I was charged with a 20-year felony known as 1512C2. The title of that felony is something like witness tampering, evidence shredding. It has nothing to do with the citizen protest, and in my particular case, giving a speech. My co-defendant, John Strand, is currently serving, just started, a 32-month sentence in FCI Miami. The judge from the bench acknowledged that he's not violent. There's no violence. He has no criminal history. What business is it that the judge sentenced him to 32 months? If you're interested in his story as he languishes in prison, you can find it at johnstrand.com. So he's just one story. We have many stories. I'm taking taking this on, and I challenge everyone to see this as a civil liberties issue of the day. I challenge everyone to see themselves in the position, mostly men, your brother, your uncle, your son, your father, your brother. We are all J6. And I'll say to you, we don't stand up now. It's you next. You next. Thank you.
My name's Vicki Whitlock. I'm Ashley Babbitt's mother. We're talking about civil violations. My daughter was murdered by this government, and then her death was swept under the carpet, and nobody has yet to answer for these crimes. American citizens should be righteously indignant. We should have something to say about the fact that on January 6th, American citizens were murdered, beaten, and they were thrown in jail where the key has been hidden from all of us. You know, Dr. Gold was in had to do 32 months. My daughter was murdered. Sarah's husband 600 days before he's been in front of a judge. This should enrage all American citizens. And they did this to the January 6ers as a template for what they're going to do and are doing to President Donald Trump. So hopefully Donald Trump's involvement in the January 6th situation will get to see that this is what's been happening to our people, average people who went to Washington, D.C. to protest a stolen election, and their lives were ruined or ended because of it. You know, this is such an unjust situation. Ashley was a United States veteran deployed in the Middle East for war crimes. She deserves answers. I deserve answers. Ashley was not the only unarmed American citizen to die that day. Ashley Babbitt, my daughter, Roseanne Boylan was beaten to death by Metropolitan Police Officer Rita Morris. There's footage. These officers have been nothing but promoted. Kevin Greason, hit with a flashbang grenade induced a heart attack. And Benjamin Phillips, we have a right to know what happened to our citizens. We have a right to know from the top down to Pelosi, to Yogananda Pittman, to everybody that was in charge that day. They don't want to release the 14,000 hours of footage that belongs to you, and they want to piecemeal it out to some of these journalists, and they only decide that they want to give those to. So I say we deserve to see the footage. Our tax dollars that facilitated the footage filmed on equipment that we pay for with our tax dollars, like people that we employ with our tax dollars. This footage absolutely belongs to the American people. We need to demand to see it. That being said, there is also crowdsourced video that proves the guilt of some of these police officers that absolutely waged war on American citizens that day. And it is not the obligation or the practice of American citizens to stand by and watch murder, even if that murder is committed by somebody under color of authority or any uniform. Murder is murder, no matter if you have a badge or not. I suggest that Capitol Police, the Metropolitan Police, behaved reprehensibly that day. We need to see the footage. They won't let us because the same footage that would exonerate our people would incriminate them. So we need to demand to see it. It's ours. We have a right. We're American citizens. It's ours. Call your people and tell them it's ours. Remind them who they work for. Hello, my name is Nicole Reddick. My husband is a political prisoner, 376782. He was the first January 6th defendant to go to a jury trial. He was convicted of all 6 felonies, the worst being the obstruction of an official proceeding that holds a weight of 20 years. He did not go inside the Capitol that day. He was not charged with a violent crime. He received 7.5 years. Unbeknownst to us, it was our 18-year-old son who turned his father into the FBI. And I am here to say that we are literally in a Cold War right now in the United States of America. The government is coming after anyone they consider a dissident. The January 6th are just the first wave. At this point, we have 1,125 American citizens arrested. When I saw what they did to my husband in that courtroom, I made it my mission to be present as often as I can with other Jan 6ers while they face the sheer might of the United States government. Ashley Babbitt's mother, Nikki Whitlock, and I, we hold a nightly vigil outside of the D.C. jail for over 1 year. We do that every night from 7 to 9 to get the word out and sing the national anthem with these prisoners every night at 9 o'clock. I invite all of you to go to 4ashley.com, hit
so.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jeff Zink. I'm actually running for Congress in Arizona, a Democratic stronghold. I'm here. Was with me on January the 6th while we never went in, and I was interrogated for an hour and a half. Not a single charge was ever brought against me. But my son, on September the 5th of this year, just in a week and a half, will go to court for 21 years or to life, is what is his sentence, for being with me, and we never went inside the Capitol. So the thing is that all of us here, I was on the steps of the Capitol and the Columbus doors when I learned about Ashland. And that's when I heard for the very first time that somebody had actually been shot at that point. Had no idea what was going on inside, but yet this is very real. If it can happen to us, it's coming to you.
Yes, it is.
You need to understand something. They are coming for us. Those that are Christians, that are conservative, that want to do what is right. That's not what their purpose is. They want to destroy us. It's up to you to stand in the gap with us and be active. Say something. Do something. If you can't become a precinct committeeman, if you can't call your senator, your House of Representatives, if you don't pick up the phone, you don't email them, nothing gets done. You're the ones that have to do this, not us. You're talking, we're doing. Now it's up to you. Please go to Ashley.com. Go to that website. Check mine out, jeffzink.vote. Check out what's going on. We're making a difference because we're speaking up. Be the difference, okay? That's what I'm asking all of y'all to do. Thank y'all.
My name is Sarah McAfee. My husband is a January 6th political prisoner, 738 days today. He remains behind bars for being a law enforcement off-duty on January 6th that tried to save Roseanne Boylan's life. We're supposed to go to trial on September 25th of this year. This will be the third time it's been moved, and it looks like it's going to be moved to next year. What happened to our constitutional rights in America? You know what's wrong? We had a press conference about 100 days ago in Miami, and I asked each one of you, this video went viral. 1.7 million views on TikTok this video had. I asked every single one of you, what have you done to help the January 6th defendants? Because they're coming after us one at a time. I have video evidence that exonerates my husband on every single charge that he is looking at 68 years in prison. 68 years for standing in the gap to try to save somebody's life and help an officer. We have the power in the people. We cannot be the silent majority anymore. We must be the majority. We have power with our money. The representatives in Washington, D.C. might not listen to us. But you know what they're going to listen to? Where we spend our money. Look at what happened to Target. Look at what happened to Bud Light. If 100 million people stood up and said, I'm not going to work tomorrow until you release the 158 incarcerated individuals and you drop their charges, you know who would listen to us? Washington, D.C. So I implore you to stop sitting around and doing nothing. My family is affected. Nikki is affected. Dr. Ball, Zink, all of us, Nicole that you'll hear from, Ivan, we are
Just attached to you?
Yeah. Oh, no, I need that. Oh, you going up there to speak?
Let him have the rest.
All right, everybody, listen closely. Take notes. I'm not going to play Mr. Nice Guy anymore. We've given Congress 6 months. Kevin McCarthy's Congress, the 118th Congress, has been given 6 months by us to operate according to our schedule. They have failed. Now we're going to escalate. This is what we're going to do. Write this number and name down to begin with. Congressman Barry Loudermilk is the chairman of the Oversight Subcommittee, which is part of the House Administration Committee, which has the mission to provide oversight over the Capitol Police Board. I'm going to give you his phone number. Stand by. 202-225-2931. His chief of staff is Robert Adkerson. His legislative director is Ashley Adkerson. Communications director is Brandon Cockerham. And scheduler is Ashley Adkerson. So, you're going to reach out to him. And what are you going to say? This is what you're going to say. I plead with you. Number one, you need to make sure that you go ahead and make the following people squirm. The current chief of the Capitol Police, Thomas Manger, his role since July 24th of 2021 has been to provide the cover for the Fedsurrection coup that was conducted by Nancy Pelosi. And guess who was the number one warlord on the Capitol grounds that conducted that Fedsurrection coup for Nancy Pelosi? You mentioned her name, Yogananda Pittman. So, if you're a J6 defendant, or if you know a J6 defendant, this is what happened. And I'm almost certain this happened. The only way we find this out is to get the release of the tapes and all the evidence related to it. January 6th occurs. You, sir, for example, are standing outside of the Capitol. You, sir, are a Capitol police officer. The CCTV footage that's owned by U.S. Capitol does not have audio. What happens? Yogananda Pittman looks through the social media and sees that you, sir, are a public supporting, you support President Trump. And you know for a fact for yourself that the 2020 election was illegal. What happens next? Yogananda Pittman, at the behest of Nancy Pelosi, has a conversation with you, Capitol Police officer, and says, guess what? You have an issue in your personnel file. Do you want that off, or do you want me to go ahead and ruin you? You have two options. I either ruin you, or you sign this impact statement stating that this individual was threatening you. And I'm now going to use that statement that you made and attach it to the criminal referral that I signed off of, meaning Yogananda Pittman initially, and then now Thomas Manger later. And guess who was the lawyer that set all of that in motion? The General Counsel of the United States Capitol Police, Thomas DeBiase, D-I-B-I-S-E. Now, a little bit about Thomas DeBiase. He's known as Tad. He's also on Twitter as the Nobody Guy. Well, what does that mean? He used to work at the U.S. Attorney's Office before General Counsel at U.S. Capitol Police. And what did he do? He was able to prosecute folks where there was no body found to get them for murder. What does this mean? He has networks in the U.S. Attorney's Office. So, if you're manipulating the video, taking only the video footage of where you're politely communicating with the Capitol Police officer, but yet the video is taken in a frame so that it looks like you're yelling at him, and then he provides his impact statement so that he doesn't get ruined by Yogananda Pittman. That is now taken by the general counsel and sent over to the Department of Justice. Even before the Department of Justice manipulates, curates, creates their own bias on top of that evidence, it's already 100% foolproof conviction rate. 100%. That is what happened. I'm almost certain. I'm not 100%, but I'm 99.9% certain that that's what occurred. The only way that they can say that it didn't occur, that did not occur, is for the entire 44,000 hours to be released, one. For all of the communications between the general counsel, Pittman, Manger, and the entire Capitol Police Board, to include those that are the bosses of the Capitol Police Board, meaning the sergeants at arms of the House, the Senate, all of them since January 6th, and then Pelosi, McCarthy, Schumer, and McConnell. So even if McCarthy had the leverage and the spine to demand that the CCTV footage be released, he doesn't have that leverage. And here's why. The Capitol Police Chief is the one with the general counsel that decides on what can and will be released of the CCTV footage. Who has leverage over them? I'll tell you. Thomas Manger was appointed as the Capitol Police Chief July 24th of 2021. He was done so by the Capitol Police Board, consisting of 3 members. He needs 2 votes, meaning he has to get the vote of Nancy Pelosi's House Sergeant at Arms and Senator Chuck Schumer's Sergeant at Arms. In essence, the current Capitol Police Chief is a lackey of Schumer and Pelosi. He is going to do everything in his power to make sure that the video is not released and no communications between those individuals that I just mentioned will be released, because guess what's going to happen? The entire house of cards completely crumbles. And McCarthy's in on it too, because he was the one that agreed with Pelosi on January 6th to allow for no quorum to take place during their certification of the illegal election, where they did not allow a quorum to take place. McConnell, Schumer, Pelosi, McCarthy, and then subsequently Pence all were seditious co-conspirators in certifying the illegally conducted and illegally transmitted results of the election in at least 6 states. That's all I have.
I just want to add one small point. I can't speak to the specificity of the crimes that Ivan outlined, but what I can speak to with all the credibility I can muster from those who know me, that I witnessed lies by the Department of Justice directly. I witnessed and had the evidence case, and in my co-defendant's case, lied. You can see some of that evidence for yourself on johnstratton.com, my co-defendant, but I'm attesting with all the power of my reputation that I personally, directly evidenced that the Department of Justice engaged in lies. So I wanted to validate and
In addition to what the Capitol Police did.
After all that I've been laid out, then it goes to trial. So I'm saying at the end of that, the piece that I can attest to, having looked at the evidence, is that the Department of Justice engaged in lies. They lied. It was shocking to me as an attorney and an officer of the court to observe that.
That's so true. Can we get the phone number to call again, please?
What's the phone number? Is my phone louder than silent?
Wherever my phone is. Is my phone over there? Right there behind you. All right, so I guess we're going to take questions, right? Because there's a lot more to this. First question is, Congressman Barry Loudermilk is the question, right? Congressman Loudermilk is the congressman that represents Roseanne Boylan. Congressman Loudermilk is the congressman that Nancy Pelosi accused of giving insurrection tours when he was actually in there just friends and family showing the Capitol when it was completely closed off. He's doing some stuff, right? He's exposing things. He's on faux news talking about it. I like that he's doing this, but he's going too slow. We need to push him just before he reaches his breaking point. And it's not even close to that point. We need to push his staff just before they break. Because if we break them, we don't have the mechanism to get to the truth. But we need to push them maximally as, I don't know if you want to call them friends, they're on our side, but they're going too slow. We need to drag them across the finish line. That means, men, where are you? Sir, look yourself in the mirror. Look, who's doing the majority of the work here? It's not me. They're doing 99% of the work, and I'm embarrassed that they're doing 99% of the work. Look yourself in the mirror and start getting activated. Because guess what? It's going to get spicy fast if we don't solve it in this way. Number. (202-225-2931). Chief of Staff, Robert.Adkerson@mail.house.gov. That's spelled ADKERSON. Here's when we, the people, start to let this marinate a little bit. Questions? Please, while you're thinking, Loudermilk needs to go after in an escalatory manner against, like, you guys need to learn as much as you can about the General Counsel of the U.S. Capitol, the previous and current Chief of Capitol Police, and, well, from Manger, Pittman, Tobias. Start with that. Find as much dirt on them as possible and send them my way. Because that's going to be the leverage we need to make them squirm. Find leverage on their family. Again, all peaceful, patriotic, legal, moral, and ethical. We're going to apply the court of public opinion pressure to demand that they release the footage. Because guess what? They are guilty until they prove their gangsters. They have to prove their legitimacy at this point. Because none of them are legitimate at this point until they can show that they are.
Yes, please. Can I ask Ron, what does it benefit for whoever to put? Why was that plan?
The J6 defendants? You know, Loudermilk is a good guy. A little slow, but he's a good guy. So the question is, what benefit does it offer the people that I listed to jail the J6 defendants? I'm going to give a couple of reasons, and I want other people to chime in. You have an insight that I don't. My overarching insight is as follows. It goes back to 2016, when the RNC placed Mike Pence, has forced Donald Trump to accept Mike Pence to be his handler on behalf of the Uniparty. They had to create leverage over Trump in the event that he won. And the reason it continued to escalate is because the same 5-6 individuals that defrauded the FISA court, in order to spy an American citizen, Carter Page, Navy veteran, to then pierce into Donald Trump's campaign, are the same individuals that provided the censorship industrial complex, manipulation of all content on big media and big tech to convince the country that the emergency use authorized products were good, safe, and effective. That the election was the most safe and secure ever in the history of humanity, right? Never before has the human race experienced such a pristine election, they told us. Everything that was censored that we left, or we got booted. The same individuals. Brian Alton was a supervisory intelligence analyst on Crossfire Hurricane, who later and now is the supervisory intelligence analyst at the Foreign Influence Task Force at FBI, which was the guy at headquarters coordinating with the guy that questioned Flynn, Joe Pienka, with Peter Strzok, was coordinating at the San Francisco field office of the FBI with Elvis Chan and Jim Baker over at Twitter. Jim Baker used to be the general counsel at the FBI. All these people are the same individual that spied on Trump that have continued escalating in their cover-ups for the initial transgression of defrauding the FISA court. And they are continuing that escalation. And I argue that Mike Pence had to have known, because of his background and network of having served for 10 years on the Judiciary Committee as a House member, the Unit Party was involved, both sides, the China First Democrats and the China First Republicans, in order to be able to cover for the previous transgressions. And they had to do that by the removal of Trump, because him and his network of people would be doing far more than what is going on illegitimately with First Amendment, almost entirely peaceful rally attendees on January 6th. We are the ones that would expose it in positions of power and authority legitimately, so in order to essentially, for them to avoid the tail end of a treason conviction, they have to deflect, divert, and do that in a fraudulent manner against those that will come after them. Meaning, that's why they're going after all the attorneys, right? In Fulton County, in Michigan, the electors, right? In DC, they're going after all the attorneys that will eventually get into positions that will immediately go after those that stole and conducted the illegal election of 2020. It started off with the Mike Pence Fauci-funded Wuhan incident that changed the laws, that changed the manner in which the states ran their elections, not according to the election law that resulted that it was totally the biggest fraud that occurred in our country's history, and they have to defend it.
You feel the civil war in prison now.
What's your name and organization?
Mary, Rad. So, sorry. That's right. Go ahead. I wanted to ask you about all the people that now are somehow involved in evidence. Well, I have maybe a simpler answer, more common man answer as to why they're putting American citizens in jail. Because American citizens showed up in mass that day. Perhaps 2 million people on the Capitol grounds to redress their government. They put these people in jail because they're leaders of men. They killed my daughter because she was a leader of men. And they don't want American citizens to feel empowered to question their own government. And that's why these ladies can tell you when you walk into a court, I have not had the privilege of having the American government come after my daughter because they murdered her instead. But when you go into these courtrooms and they say the United States of America versus Guy Brecken, it's a way that you don't even know. So American citizens that were there that day are still in fear. They arrested how many people? They arrested from their home? 42 so far. 42 so far. And this is in D.C. All these cases go through the court system in D.C. When Matthew Graves fails to prosecute 67% of violent crimes in D.C. You're talking about murders, rapes, carjackings, kidnappings. He fails to prosecute. Well, he continues to go after MAGA grannies and MAGA grandpas to make you afraid to question your government. This is where we're at right now. You may not question the powers that be. So I think to answer in a simpler way, they jailed our people to scare the shit out of us. I'm sorry for your loss. I appreciate that.
I'll just say a couple of words about why I think they're doing it. First of all, I'm not a person who believes like in this national conspiracy. I think an easy way to understand it me. They scare people downstream from me. So don't think that there has to be like this worldwide or national collusion. There's people with different motives. So we do have the top level motive, but in the more mainstream motive, have you ever wondered why a country, a nation as populous as China, more than 1 billion people, they're all compliant with the CCP because you've trained your population to be compliant. That's what's going on here. Let's all be compliant. So they take people like me, they take people like our relatives, right? And they try to scare us, and then people downstream are scared. I heard a few months ago at the next election there was going to be a rally, and I said to my staff, I'm not sure people will show up, right? If you think if you show up to a rally, your whole life is going to be ruined, you're less likely to show up. That's the motive. That's the motive. We get a compliant citizenry. But we're Americans. We're in charge, not the government. But that requires every single person to do something.
That's right. Thank you.
Tom, you're lucky. They murdered your daughter. They put you in prison. They lied about the election. They arrest all of our loved ones. What is something the average American can do to fight back on a day-to-day basis?
So we started a nonprofit foundation called Stand in the Gap. And Stand in the Gap isn't just for January 6th defendants. It's for long term. As we've heard that they are 97% conviction rate right now. They are not moving trials out of DC. It is not a jury of our peers. We have to look long term. This system is broken from A to Z with justice reform. From the time that they go to a grand jury and they are allowed to lie, to indict you, to the time that the judge calls you an incident in 5 minutes, to the time that a jury of not your peers convicts you on every single crime because of a day on a calendar, rather than looking at the evidence through your prison sentence, as you've heard, what John's enduring, what our husbands have endured, is absolutely sickening. And then you come out, how are you ever supposed to be a contributing member of society again? You are now labeled an insurrectionist, a felon, and whatever it is that the media has tried to smear you with. We have to stand behind our people. Whether it's doing a letter campaign where you're reaching out I have a letter that goes out to our congressional members every single day. If we do that in numbers, they are not going to be able to avoid us forever. We have to put our money where our mouth is and support foundations like Stand in the Gap. We have recently joined forces with For Ashley because this is justice for her daughter. This is justice for our loved ones. This is justice for the other 3 individuals that died that day that you never hear about because the police waged war on the American people. We have to continue as what our foundation is, Stand in the Gap. They went for us on January 6th to air their grievances to the government, which we are allowed to do according to our Constitution. And they scared you by arresting 1,200 people, jailing 158 of them. So this won't ever happen. It's going to happen. Stand in the Gap Shop Foundation. We ask what you can do. Honestly, you need to open your wallets and donate. It's that or you fight. You fight with time or you fight with money. So if you don't have the time, then you have to put your money where your mouth is and you fight that way. The second thing is I put a challenge out there to every righteous pastor. Open up your hearts to these J6 defendants. This is what a righteous church is supposed to do. They
right, here's the easiest thing you can do. If calling Congressman Loudermilk or his chief of staff in the email is too difficult for you, how about this? Instead of doing something, I'm going to tell you something that you shouldn't be doing. That is turning on the television. Leave that thing off. Bankrupt faux news. They are the biggest problem to getting the truth out, and this is why. The Sergeant at Arms on January 6th for Nancy Pelosi was Paul Irving. He was the Sergeant at Arms for before that, and John Boehner before that. Those two individuals, John Boehner and Paul Ryan, were out actively campaigning for Lizzie Cheney in Wyoming while this was all going on. Paul Ryan sits on the board of Faux News. Some idiots out there pronounce it Fox. Okay? They're the lemming China first retards. Okay? I don't want you to be caught into that trap. Get off of faux news, start creating your own content, and do your own critical thinking, and get the truth out. That is the easiest thing I can recommend. More? Done?
All right, thank you guys. Do you have a question?
Thank you.
Excuse me. Why do we have to ask for more of the same? When Congress gave us the upper house,
When was the last time you called Loudermilk?
this is my first time hearing you. That's
do
why,
it.
yes, sir, I will do that. But
I
what
talk to his
happened
team every day.
What happened to those tapes? They're not complete and we want more. Will not the Congress
Were
do
you here the
this?
whole time?
No, that's why I was the one who shouted. Who do we call? I got that. I got the who do we call?
Who's got the best video of this? And who's posting it so we can share it?
Can you send it to my email, sir? Is that